Okay, for a quick review of our discussion based on this microprogram control part, one was your one of the unit of your system, that is a control unit, right? And we also read this thing, yeah, earlier day, that whenever you are thinking about this control unit, there is two type of control unit, like hardware control unit and microprogrammed control unit. So whenever you are designing some control unit using some hardwares, using some digital logic techniques, some design methodologies, so then you will say that it is your hardware control unit, right? And whenever you are using some programming techniques or microprogram instruction who are actually being stored in memory, then you will say that it is your microprogrammed control unit, right? So this thing, then when you will move further, that this control unit maybe how you will keep it active stage. So usually in general, that when you are in using a one state, that is an active state, in zero state, that is an inactive state. But problem is that sometimes we usually use some active high kind of signal, active low kind of signal. So if it is active low, then zero will make it active. If it is active high, then one will make it active. So different logics can be there, right? So now if you go further regarding this control unit, you will get also this information, like this control unit initiates series of sequential steps of micro operations. That means you will pass different micro operations, set of micro instructions. Then all of these things will actually create this microprogram control unit. Then if you are thinking that regarding this pictorial representation, that when it is a hardware control unit, you can see that from memory the instruction code are coming, and every time in microprogram control, in hardware control, in both the cases, from memory the instruction codes are coming, and then through some combinational logic circuit. As in hardware control unit, you are using some design methodologies, some logic techniques, and you are using some hardware design techniques to design it. That is why this combinational logic circuit part is here. Okay, and also the sequence counter also obviously should be there, because if you are in loop, or if you are in any kind of recursive method, or in a kind of iterative method, then you have to count that how many times your loops should be repeated, right? So that is why the sequence counter will be there. Okay, and then in case of microprogrammed control, if you see that there will be memory, then instruction code, right? The same thing. Next thing is next address generator. So just the difference you can feel that in case of hardware control, we were just using some combinational logic circuits, and in case of microprogram control, we are taking the instructions from memory. That is why the next address generator or sequencer are here. And from this next address generator, your content address register will hold that particular address from where you will operate, or from where your micro instructions will be operating, right? Then from it, the control memory, control data register, decoding circuit, everything's are there. And also we have seen this thing that control data register is not always required, because from control memory also you can directly fetch your data, right? That means those things also was discussed previous day, just like this one, that if you are thinking about this control data register, sometime this unit can work without the control data register also. Okay, and parallel some other part was there, just like when you will think about this control memory, which is actually stored in ROM, right? So just like think about your BIOS program. When you are starting your system, ROM is coming active, and it is actually controlling your system starting part. So your booting part is also there, right? So that means from your BIOS program, your input output setup and all the program which is required to start your system, those will start, and your system will be ready, right? So those are also some set of micro instructions are actually stored there from the ROM. They are actually executing. That is why our BIOS program is being started, right? So all these things are gradually happened one by one step, and then when we will move further, just like this microprogram routines. So these were till now what we discussed, that was the part of previous day's discussion, and from this part, the microprogram routine is today's discussion. So here actually what you will see, routine, that means somehow you are related with this term like routine. Sometimes we are used to take this term like a timetable. When we were in childhood, we usually use this term class routine, weekly subject routine, all these things. So actually, what are they? Some set of micro instructions will be stored in control memory. Why? Because they are actually fix it that after which instruction will come. That means one instruction has passed, then which instruction need to be generated and which instruction need to be executed. So all this set of what I can say that execution table, all these things will be stored in this particular routine. And here in this course, we have also used this term in case of subroutine, right? So what were they in case of subroutine? We will also check this thing, but previously we can also just remind this thing that what was done in the subroutine, that you are executing some set of codes and suddenly you found that you need to jump from one set of code to another set of code. So you will just put some instruction that jump followed by some section name or some identifier, then you will jump from that particular address to those address, and here your set of micro instructions is stored. So you are actually executing those subroutine after it, right? So this thing already you have done. And after execution of this subroutine, you have to again return back to that particular address where you started. So all these things we have seen. So now what has been written here, that each computer instruction has its own microprogram routine to generate micro operations that execute the instruction. That means when you are using your system and your system is actually working in a specific pattern, right? So that means your system actually has a specific microprogram subroutine to generate the intended programs or your related thing like this. Okay. So next, when you will go further, you will see that the microprogram routines. So there may be different kinds of things, just like subroutine. What I just took this term, like sequence of micro instructions used by other routines to accomplish particular task. So just read it, sequence of micro instructions, right? So in a routine also you are using this term like sequence of micro instructions, but here what you are doing, like used by other routines. So that means you are actually executing one group of statements or one set of instructions, and there you are just writing J followed by some identifier name or some block name, like jump followed by some block name. So what you are actually doing, your program counter is actually jumping from that particular point to those identifier name or those section, right? So that means this program is actually using those particular set of instructions, and after using those particular instruction, it is coming back from that address to here, right? So that means your one set of instructions are actually using other set of instructions in case of subroutine, right? So what's the example, like subroutine to generate effective address of operand for memory reference instruction. So this thing already you have done in your MIPS program in lab. When in this lab we use the subroutine part, here you can see that you have, if you remember that some simply, if you remember that some greater than less than comparison were done, and what we did, we simply wrote that branch greater than followed by some name. So if the condition is satisfied, you are just jumping from that particular block to that block, right? So those were the example of subroutine. Now subroutine register. So when you are doing this thing, that means you are jumping from one set of micro instructions to another set of micro instructions, and you are just executing your task, and you are just trying back from those address to where you initiated all those instructions. So all these things you just need to store somewhere, right? So that means this subroutine register actually stores return address during the subroutine call. So now anyone can tell me that whenever we were using this Mars programming or using this MIPS programming, and we are using this Mars simulator actually. So who was the subroutine register? Right? So lots of time this thing has been discussed. The subroutine register actually, this one, this RA. If you remember, I have opened this terminal again. See, this RA was your subroutine register. It actually holds the return address, because when you are jumping from one zone to another zone, you have to return back your original location, and that original location is actually the array, stored in array, right? That return address, and that is the same thing being termed here as subroutine register. Okay. Then the next thing, that is the controller, that is the conditional branching. So parallelly, if you again just repeat it down, that some small type of questions can be discussed also from those parts, like when you are using this subroutine and when you are using this routine, right? So if anyone can giving you the program, the instruction, like say this particular sentence has been given, sorry, that sequence of micro instruction used by other routines to accomplish particular task. This is related with which one? Subroutine or routine? So you need to select subroutine, because here you can see it is very easy, because already routine is being used in this term. So one routine, again another routine, so it may be complicated. So that is why it should be subroutine. Okay, so in the exam time when you will read these questions, sometime obviously you will search them in internet, that is not a problem. But if you are not getting the answers, I can say one trick that if you read them properly, you will see that in question also you can get somehow a little bit of hints that what should be the answer. So you can just pick it and you can get the answer. So just like in the previous week in our lab viva, some students picked that particular points and they scored better, right? So that is the thing actually. So if you go further, that is the conditional branching. So we have also done this thing in our programming part. Just like think that you are writing branch greater than equals to, or branch greater than only, not equals to. So BGT, then BGE, followed by some other branch less than equals to, branch less than equals less than. So different branch instructions can be there, right? So what are being done by these branch instructions? So actually they are performing some branching. That means you are checking one condition. If condition is satisfied, you will go this way. If condition not satisfied, you will go this way. So like this, different paths are actually being controlled, right? So that means how they are actually controlled. You are writing the branch instruction, you are writing the condition, everything is fine. But once you are getting this condition, so this condition may be true, may be false, right? So that means you need some status bit actually, whether your branch instruction is accepting this, or your branch instruction is not accepting this particular condition. So this kind of several condition can be there, right? So that means if you think that you will take this path, so this path will be taken when your condition is satisfied. So that means condition satisfied. So if you think about, or if you relate this thing with the flag registers which were being used earlier, so at that time your status flag will be in satisfied condition. Then only you can choose this way. Or if not satisfied, that means status flag is returning a zero condition, then it will be going back to the other zone. You can relate it with our existing example, like when we did this addition subtraction flowchart, right? Sign magnitude addition subtraction flowchart when we did. So there was one AVF bit, if you remember, what was being termed as add overflow flag register, right? So what was being done by that particular flag register? Before this, it was one carry flag. So what you were doing actually, you were just checking the bit by bit addition result and you were passing it, right? So after checking, when you were observing that yes, your carry flag is there, then you were just checking whether your carry flag is 1 or 0. So if it is 1, then you are saying that yes, it is 1. That means carry has been generated. So you have to pass it to add overflow flag register, right? Thus the flag register will set as 1 and it will send the message that yes, there is overflow. So that means you are performing the addition between 4-bit and 4-bit and your result has exceed this 4-bit. So those kind of information when you will be passed, then you will get this information that yes, there is a problem or there is an overflow. So what kind of information actually it is, right? So it is actually the status bit. The status bit actually showing that yes, this is larger or this is lesser, like this. So just like whenever you are thinking about this add overflow flag register, if the status bit is 1, that means you will say that yes, there is overflow. There is overflow, so that means you can this cannot be properly done, or you have to set some other arrangement, or you have to send this message to the user that yes, there is overflow, like this. Okay, so different kinds of status bit register is also has been mentioned here. So just the example what I gave you, that carry out of adder. Carry out of adder means whenever you are performing the addition between n bit and n bit and your result is exceeding the n bits, right? So that is the carry out of adder. That is one status bit. Another status bit is sign bit of a number. So when you are performing the 2's complement addition subtraction, if your sign bit is 1, right, or if your most significant bit which is being used as a sign bit is 1, then you have to do some other operation, because at that time you will get this information that yes, it is a negative result, so you have to again take the 2's complement of this particular result, right? So all of these things we have done. So if you just remember, or if you just read the previous thing, don't need to read. If you just try to get this information that what has been done till the date, so you can relate everything. You can relate everything right now, because actually what you have started, the ALU or simple the microprocessor architecture or the memory or the pipeline, everywhere actually control unit is related, right? So you can relate them very easily. Now the next one is mode bits of instruction. So what is this mode bits? If you remember the instruction part, when we were performing this instruction set example or instruction set architecture, at that time it is very related or very important part that what addressing mode you are using. Again, for this example, if you see that if I open this merge simulator, and if I open this help file, you will see that sometimes there are some operand in the instruction, right? Just like this, and I followed by T1, T2 and one operand, right? But if this thing is not one, so right now you can say that it is an operand. Why? Because it is and I, so it is and immediate. But if this I is not there, right, then you cannot see that, you cannot say that this is operand. Or previously also you have seen this, right, that in the instruction, if there is a particular operand exists in an instruction, then it may be the address location of any other memory location, or it may be operand. So how we will decide that whether it is an operand or it is an memory address? So obviously it will be informed by the addressing mode. So if there is one I associated, that means it is an immediate mode. So immediate mode means when you will get some data kind of thing in your instruction, that means that is an operand, right? But if I is not there, then it should be one address. So it is very common. In addressing mode, we have taken this type of example also. We have also answered this type of questions several times, right? So that means status bit provide parameter information such as carry out register, sign bit register, mode bits of instruction. So everything we have done till now. Now information and status bits can be tested in and actions initiated based on their conditions 1 or 0. So it is quite common that if your status bit will be 1, that means either your condition has been satisfied and your status bit is not satisfied, that means the status bit is 0. So that means your condition is not satisfied, so you will take the other way. So this kind of thing is very common, right? Now the another thing is unconditional branch. So unconditional branch means you have a branch obviously, but it is unconditioned. That means you must need to go through this branch. Anyhow or anything you need to do, you must need to pass through this branch. So just like you can relate it that you are supposed to come in university, and there is one sanitization gate has been designed, right? So irrespective of your present condition, you have to go through this gate. So that means always the status bit will be in accepting mode. Irrespective of your present condition, you must need to go through this particular what I can say, through this particular gate. So that means always and every time, irrespective of your present condition, you have to go through this particular gate. So always the status bit will be set as 1 if it is active in one condition. That means it is an active high signal, right? So in some of the cases, your conditional branching is also required. In some of the cases, conditional branch instruction we also use, just like what the physical example I have given. That example is one, and in some program you also do this thing. It's very common. Okay. So then if you go further, like mapping of instruction, that is one very important part, that mapping of instruction. So I can directly go to this example. What is actually by this mapping of instruction being mentioned? That means till the date you have seen some set of instruction, right? That means add and LDA. So what the instruction has been given here? Add, that means you are trying to add two or more numbers, and you are trying to perform logical AND operation. LDA, you are trying to read that load data from accumulator, right? So these things are quite common, but these are actually instruction, right? And what we told earlier, what we taught, or what we saw earlier, that whenever you are giving this kind of instruction, there is some opcode associated with it, right? Some opcode. So what are those opcodes? Those opcodes are some set of numbers which will be mapped with your addressing part. So in your address bits, some of the bits will be fixed for opcode. This thing also we have seen in our addressing mode and instruction set examples, right? So you can just relate them now. So take this 3 example, add, AND, and LDA, right? And then you can see for add the opcode is 0000. For AND the opcode is 0001. For LDA the opcode is 0010. Now it will be previously set that who is your mapping bits from your address, right? So say you are using a 7-bit addresses, first one, leave first one, the next 4 bits are fixed for your opcode information, and the last 2 for will be some other information. So whenever you will check some examples or some numerical problems from memory part, from cache memory part, you will obviously see that this kind of thing is quite common, that there are 8 number of operations need to be performed, and you are supposed to use required number of bits to set the opcodes. Then how many bits you will use to design this opcode? It is quite obvious that if you are using 8 number of operation and you are trying to use some number of opcodes, so obviously you will use only 3 bits to use this opcode, because 2 to the power 3 is 8, right? So just like that example here, it is these things are predetermined. That's for AND, this 4-bit is your opcode, for add this 4-bit for your opcode, and for LDA this 4 bits are your opcode. So now when you will map, this 4-bit, 4-bit, 4-bit are being mapped. So that means this 4-bit is all 0. So that means this is one add instruction. So it will map with this add routine, right? So this is 0001. That means it is actually mapped with AND instruction. So this will be mapped with AND routine. Then the next one is LDA. So it's 0010. So this is being mapped with the LDA routine. So that means from this address, the particular numbers who are actually mapping to the opcode, depending on those values, your instructions will be mapped in the respective routines in your control memory. So this is actually the mapping of instruction, right? So that means some numerical problems also can be given, or some very small questions, one-liner or multiple choice type of questions can be given from this type of thing. It is very easy. Just we will give some instruction code and we will give some common address. We will just mention that these 4 will be using for mapping the instruction or for opcode. Then you need to inform that which one is being performed, which one is being used for which condition. You can easily do this. It is not very difficult. You can just see that how they are being mapped. It will be done. Okay. So I am going further, or you will take 1-2 minutes time to understand this thing. If you need that this thing need to repeat again, then that can be again repeated. Okay, so I am repeating once again this particular point. If you think that this is not required, then you can stop me. So I am just repeating once again. This is for mapping of instruction. So how these instructions are being mapped, or why this mapping is required. Now, when you are writing this instruction like add followed by some operand and operator, or you are writing and followed by some data or followed by some operand, whatever may be. So you are a human being, so you know that add means you are going to perform the addition, and means you are going to perform the logical and, but our system will understand, right? So that is why the opcode was there. So related some code numbers that will represent the add operation, some numbers were there that will represent the AND operation, some numbers are there that will represent the load data from accumulator operation. So different numbers are associated with different codes. Now in one particular instruction, they are obviously it is associated with some address. So from this address, okay, maybe it is 7-bit address, 20-bit address, 32-bit address, whatever may be. So some number of bits will be there specified for the block size, set size like this. Some number of bits are there for to specify the tag size, index size, all of this. Similarly, some number of bits can be there to specify the opcode also. So for this particular example, it has been specified that this 4-bit starting from the most significant bit position, the second bit from the most significant bit position, and the next 4 bits are actually there to specify the what I can say to specify this add and LDA instruction, or to specify the opcode instruction, right? So those opcode information will inform your system that what kind of operation you are going to perform. So when it will see that your 6th bit, 5th bit, 4th bit and 3rd bit are all 0, then it will send the information that yes, it is all 0, so it is an add operation. So it will be mapped with the add routine. And where these add routines are being stored? Obviously in control memory. Similarly, when the next one will see that it is a 0001, it will be mapped with the AND routine in the control memory. So just like this way, your instructions are being mapped using the 4-bit operation code and 7-bit address along with the control memory. Okay. So next, when you will go in the address sequencing part, you will observe some lots of big diagrams. I will say that these diagrams are required for your own understanding, because if you see, say you are observing this particular example, address sequencing. So address sequencing means how your addresses are being sequenced one by another, and what kind of devices are being used for this address sequencing, that is very much required. So just like after getting the instruction code and mapping logic, one multiplexer will be there who will actually decide that which of the register will go to the control address register. So from where the data can come? Actually, when you are getting this instruction code or mapping logic, you are getting some instruction simply. So that thing can be one option. Now, if you are using some kind of control memory or some kind of repetition action or some kind of what I can iterative method or sequential method, then some branch address will become in action. So after getting this branch address, so those branch will be executed again. So that means again this branch address can come to this address control address register. Parallelly, if you are using some incrementer or some subroutine part, so from this subroutine or from this incrementing address, there may be some other input also. So how you will decide that which one will come, right? So status bit will be deciding this thing. So you can see that status bit also are going through some multiplexer part. So one status bit will generate one output. So that output will be used actually for the select input of the multiplexer. And depending on that select input, you will find finally what kind of data input will come in actions and who are the data inputs. So those data inputs are this particular thing that may be branch address, maybe incrementer address, maybe return address of one subroutine, whatever maybe you can see, right? So depending on that input, any one of the data input will be selected and that will be passed through this control address register. And after it, depending on several conditions, maybe it will go for incrementing part or maybe it will go for control memory part. So that will be decided depending on the present condition, right? So that is the overall thing. Now I am saying this thing part that no need to remember everything just by that you have to draw this thing in exam, not like this. Just try to understand, because this kind of complex diagram will not be given normally, and right now you are in online mode, so it is not for exam. Just try to understand, try to get that how your instructions are being flowed, how the addresses are being sequenced. So those are very interesting part, so you can get from that angle. Now, if you go further, that you are getting one set of micro program example, that how this program actually being executed. So you can very easily identify that here you can first see that this 11-bit, that means 0 to 10 bit, 0 to 10 bit addresses are there, and the same sorry. So somehow the same thing is being repeated here when you are using this control memory. You can see that 128 cross 20. That means 128 number of locations and 20 bit is your data width, right? So you can relate this thing with our initial part, like how you are managing your 20 bit physical address using your 10 bit data or 16 bit register, right? So you can see here the 16-bit register here, but it is actually controlling the 20-bit address. So somehow the several sections are there related, like control address register, subroutine register, right? So different parts are doing their different work, like 16-bit data registers are here, 16-bit accumulator is here. So how it is coming from one point and how it is going to another angle, how their branch is being created, how the arithmetic logic unit is actually related with this microprogram example. So all these things you will get here. And every time you will see that multiplexer is very much required, right? So we have read multiplexer. We have also given the example of multiplexer by the simple examples, which is our in front of thing, like the example we gave that you are trying to print one page. You have several options. You can make it print to PDF. You can make it print to your own system. You can make it print through your lab printer. So anything can be possible. So what does, you will select from the set of available printers, that particular printer will be selected and your output will be generated. Right. So that was also one kind of multiplexer example. But here you can see that these multiplexers are actually very much being used in our own system. So that is why all these things need to know. Now you may not be interested for this hardware part, or you may not be interested to design to know very much for this integral part of your system. That is separate issue, that is personal choice, so no problem, but they are very much related with our course, right? With our system, with our processor, with our laptop, even with our phone also. Okay, so every time you will get this thing, just whenever the sound is being generated and we are getting the sound from the system sound, or we are connecting the headphone and we are getting the sound through our headphone. So that is also kind of multiplexer is being used. So kind of select data input when being, I am just inserting this particular point. So that time data input is being selected through this headphone point, and that is being connected with our headphone. We are getting sound from here, right? So when this particular data input select input will not work, then you will, your headphone will not work, and only the system sound will be generated, right? So all these things are very much related, and I am again saying that try to just grab some idea that how this microprogram and how the address sequencing are being worked. You will not be given the whole diagram in exam. Yes, maybe that whole diagram has been diagram picture has been given in exam, and you are being asked some question from this diagram. How? What kind of question? Maybe it has been asked that this diagram has been given and you are being asked that in the control memory, how many address pins are being used? What should be the answer? If this diagram has been given in exam and you are being asked that how many number of address pins are being used here, what should be the answer? Any idea? You can say that if you are writing this thing like 128 cross 20, that means 20 is your data bit width and 128 is actually your number of address locations. Right? So whenever you are dealing with 128 number of address locations, so that means that is actually 2 to the power 7 is 128. So 7 number of address bits are there. So this kind of question can be generated. So this question also can be asked in a single sentence, but to confuse you, the whole diagram can be given. Right? And you are being asked the same thing. Then again, it can be asked like in your memory segment, what is the data bit width? The answer should be 16 because your memory is here. So don't panic, just keep calm and check the whole thing. Answer is in front of you. Maybe some extra information will be given to puzzle you. Okay. So now I will stop and I will wait if some questions can be found from your end.